G.
Can we stop the recording for a moment? Or if you can make me a host, I can start it. Good evening. Can we stop the recording tonight? Is that possible, please? Thank you. I'm not sure who's the host right now. Hello? Is anybody there? Let's see if I can find somebody.
Hi, Venerable.
Hi, can we stop the recording or can you make me the host?
Yeah, I just got on and
Thank you. No. So I'd like to thank all of you for joining, and once again, thanking Land of Medicine Buddha and Michael and Christina and everyone who's helping to support this. Thank you so much. And it's lovely to see your faces. So thank you for jumping in. I appreciate. So once again, we were just finishing a little informal discussion on emptiness. Insight into Emptiness is a book I highly recommend. once you have some simpler understanding. And then what you do is you can analyze that me, what Patty was saying is I can't take anything with me. And she said, who is that me? So that's a really helpful passage in our death practices, in this transition that we are definitely going to go through. Is the more you let go of the me, because you understand how the me actually exists, as opposed to what we impute on the me, that is a false hallucination. And then we get attached to that. And then that, because of that hallucination, when we're dying, we really, really suffer because you're grasping on to that me, the sense of I, of self. So emptiness really helps to cut the duality in general in life. Okay, so I'd like to just start with a motivation first. And I'd like you to just close your eyes for a minute. Find that comfortable position for your body. And allow your respiration to deepen. Feel that inhalation now, that deeper inhalation. Filling the lungs, expansion of the chest, shifting of the abdomen. Getting that oxygen to all the spaces, body and mind. And upon an exhalation deeply, letting it all go. And letting the distractions of your day go. And continue a little bit more of this deeper breathing. Just allowing yourself to be more present right now here in our space together. And reflecting on why you're interested in being here this evening. And from there, can you construct a positive direction for your mind, positive motivation? That understanding more about the great transition of death that is definitely coming to us, we may be able to use our lives right this moment more meaningfully. And that's going to help direct us more quickly on our spiritual path and hopefully to full enlightenment, to becoming Buddhas quickly, because many people need our help. And we've met the Dharma. We got here. We're set right now. So it's not that we're enlightened yet, but we've made it here to some very authentic spiritual teachings that will get you free of all of your suffering permanently, that will have you being blissfully happy every moment and directed, most importantly, to benefiting all living beings. So feel free, if you'd like to include that idea in your motivation, feel free. Take a moment right now to set that positive motivation. And I'd like you to reflect on this poem by Lama Yeshe right now that's part of our readings called Dissolution. I'm just going to read part of this. And please reflect. Water rushing down a steep mountainside, a natural force. There is life, but the force of dying is there, driving. Many people think I am crazy when I talk to them about death. They think I don't understand life. If you think about death and suffering, you make yourself miserable, they say. They think I'm obsessed. Dying is horrible, they say. Why do you dwell on it? Ridiculous. They do not understand life. We exist in a dance between life and death, a masked drama with one actor changing character, one face, then another, and another, moving, changing. From the first instant of life, impermanence is with us. From the moment of conception, decay begins. In the second moment of life, a change has already occurred, and the first moment has disappeared. That is impermanence and death. I exist. I exist is a misconception, a permanent conception. Every energy is moving, changing, coming and going, coming, then growing, old, older, and dying, dying, dying. When we see a dead body, we never visualize our own corpse there. We think, oh, it's dead, horrible. We never think, that's me. There's fear, not understanding. That terrible corpse is within you now. All sense world phenomena exist like a cloud. If there is meeting or beginning or contact, there is naturally change, separation, and disappearance. Man and woman, friends, mother, father, family, atoms, fire and water, things. If there is a meeting, separation must follow automatically, and there will be clinging fear and suffering. Every imaginable super samsaric experience, every contact, every enjoyment will disappear. It's natural. But we are so insecure. We find a friend and worry they will disappear. We find pleasure and worry it will end. We are afraid to lose our home and money, our loved ones, our body. We all fear separation and disappearance. This is universal fear, but it is useless, creating only confusion. It is not a solution. It is dissolution. So please relax and slowly open your eyes. And Michael, could we share the Refuge Bodhi Tree to prayer? Please, thank you so much. You've been great. It's a beautiful poem, isn't it? And it goes on, and it's very moving to think about. You can take each little section. It's very, very powerful. And just for a moment, I I just want to review a few, some beautiful things here about how natural this process of changing is, but we worry so much, we cling so much. And to understand the meetings and partings we go through. People get excited about a meeting. Great, somebody great's coming. We're happy to see this loved one. But there's going to be a separation. Whether it's a natural separation, they need to leave, they get on the plane, they go, or death is going to come. So there's some really amazing things in this poem, and it goes on. It goes on. There's more that you can read. I really, if you have the time, I read about halfway through. It's really, really nice. Okay, refuge and bodhicitta. Thank you so much, Michael. And again, just considering if you get afraid, when you get afraid, and we're afraid of things, we're afraid of all kinds of things. Everybody has their own different things, but we sometimes have fear come up, small ways it comes up, big ways it comes up. What do you do? Think about what you do when you get afraid. And are those coping mechanisms healthy, supportive? Will they release you from the fear ultimately in the long term and protect you from more suffering? Or is it just a temporary fix, which sometimes is good, sometimes is helpful, but in the long term, it doesn't really support like the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. This is why we take refuge. This is who we really want to take refuge in. So again, spend some time. There's other courses to explore. Refuge in the Three Jewels is a course to explore what are the qualities of the Three Jewels. We need to learn more about them. And the reason we're doing it is not to become a Buddha only, to become a Buddha to benefit all living beings. So with that in mind, let's read this prayer, and we will recite it once in the English, and then we'll chant it in the Tibetan phonetics. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the collections from listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all migrating beings. I go for refuge, we'll read again in English. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the collections from listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all migrating beings. O Sangye Chodan Zogi Chonam La Chanchu Bardu De Nigyab Suchi Dagi Jiningi Bezo Namgi Drola Pencher Sangye Dru Harsho. Thank you. I just want to check if there's any questions, comments, concerns from last week, from doing any meditation last week, any of the readings, anything we talked about last week, anything at all? Anybody would like to ask? Okay, everybody seems to be okay. And once again, there's some new people that have jumped in. Christina mentioned that people kept asking about the class. That's fine. So I want to mention, I mentioned last week, if you want to complete this module, and what that means is you get a certificate that you finish this module. When you get all the certificates for discovering Buddhism, 13 certificates, and then do some of the module 14 practices, which I'm happy to explain as well at another time, you can teach this program. You can be certified to be a registered teacher to teach it. But what I will do at the end is we'll have at least a retreat day, a day long. Right now we have like 2 to 4 people that want to complete the class. You have to do all the readings, okay? The meditations 3 or 4 times a week. Like, so one meditation, 3 or 4 times one week, and then the next week, another meditation. Not all of them 3 or 4 times a week, just once a week. You're gonna, the ones that are in our materials. So maybe, Michael, can you post the materials link again so people can have access to the readings materials? Then there'll be some, with the retreat time, there'll be some assessment questions. And I'll ask you some questions for you to explain back So rather than being nervous about it, it's really measures what you know, what you retained from the class, what you learned, what you studied a little. It deepens your experience. It deepens your knowledge. It helps you grow your wisdom. That's why it's really helpful to immerse yourself a little bit more in it, because obviously, you know, the more you put into this, the more you will get out of it. So you can let us know and think about it. And what we're going to do is we'll finish the modules in August. I believe we finish August 31st. I am then moving I'm moving across the country. I'm driving across the country. So I need a little time to get there and to get myself sorted. And then we're going to probably have that day long later in September once I arrive in California. So if we're in person and the center's open, some of us may be in person together. If not, we'll be on Zoom doing it. And I've led retreats on Zoom, so there's no problem. So Michael, you're okay? You've got the materials, or do you need any help with that?
I do. No, I've got them all. Do you want everything posted from last time?
I just want the readings and the meditations.
Got it. I did have a question, if it's okay,
Please.
about the 9-part meditation, just some advice on that.
Sure.
It sort of seemed easier to focus on the 3 main reasons and then the follow-up. Do you think that's an okay way, or should you just take one at a time and go through all the reasonings and then move on to the next? Do you have a recommended?
I would take one main heading at a time and do the 3 reasonings under that. Because if you're just focusing on death is certain, which is the main heading, death is certain, but you're not convinced, if you don't know the reasonings, you're not really convincing yourself why it's certain. So those reasonings make it go deeper.
Thank you.
That's my recommendation from my own experience. So we're going to continue on with the 9-point death meditation, which is where we left off last week. And just as a brief review to get our juices flowing, we again have gone through and did some meditation last week on the disadvantages of not recalling death ever, and the advantages of remembering death through your day, through your life, like that it's not a morbid situation. It helps to wake you up to your practice. So that was something we were doing last week. We looked again at the 8 worldly dharmas and discussed a little bit what Geshe Lundrup Zopa had said is the worst of those 8 worldly dharmas, which is having a bad reputation, is the one that really keeps you up at night, really gnaws at you, even though they're all very manipulative and hold us hostage in life like that. So we're really trying to look at antidotes to that, realizing we're not any better than an animal and we're just manipulated. We looked at the Discovering Buddhism video, which was really fun to watch, an overview of this module. And we started talking about the 9-point death meditation. And the exercise was, could you do this week and start the first part, which is the first heading with the 3 reasonings under that. So let me go back to the 9-point death meditation. As an overview, there's 3 main headings that are called 3 roots. There's 3 reasonings under each root, and that makes 9. And then there's 3 resolutions that when you meditate more deeply on each reasoning, one by one, okay, then it can lead you to this resolution. Okay, and what we started to look at already is death is certain, is number 1, the first root. Death is certain, death is coming, okay? And the 3 reasonings under this, without looking at your notes, who remembers? What's the first reason under death is certain? Anybody remember? Just put your hand up if you remember. Or do you want to put in the chat? You can do that. Death is certain. What's the first thing? What do you recall?
It can happen at any time.
It can happen at any time. Yeah, it's definitely coming is the issue. There's no power in the universe that is going to stop death from coming to you. So a little bit more specific, rather than it can happen at any time, because that puts us a little bit into the second root as well, but it's definitely going to happen. Definitely going to, everybody dies. That's the first point. Everybody dies, okay? Second reasoning. Who remembers the second reasoning?
Dying moment to moment.
Moment to moment. Thank you. Thank you, Michael. Dying moment to moment. And thank you, Colleen, for jumping in there as well. Is every moment you're closer to death. So I don't know if any of you, and this is a great exercise just to do from now on, or every once in a while you want to do it, okay? Is we're right now another Tuesday closer to death. We're another class closer to death. You may be another lunch closer. Perhaps another going to the bathroom closer, another cup of coffee closer, right? You can keep that awareness. Keep that awareness with you every moment, ticking away. I'm another breath closer. I'm another inhalation closer. Okay. What's the third reasoning? How much are you practicing? How much are you
Only the
practicing?
Dharma will help.
Sorry?
Only the Dharma is there for us at the time of death.
That's way down on the list of the
Way
9.
down.
Thank you, Jane.
Sorry. I'm on the first still. Sorry.
We're gonna come to that. Thank you. No, thank you so much. We're gonna come to that. Is the third part of the first, the third of the 9 points, number 3, is we have very little time to practice Dharma. Death's coming. Very little time to practice. And we looked at, of your day, 8 hours is spent on average sleeping. So a third of your life is gone sleeping. Think about that. You've got work, all of your education, your interpersonal relationships, dealing with your body, and dealing with everything else in your life. Think about all that. How much time are you spending practicing Dharma? Very, very little imprints. Okay. Michael, just one thing I wanted to correct. Can they get all the meditations, not just the 9-point death? Great. Thanks. So if you can put those. So Michael Wonderful has put up the readings, updated readings on death and rebirth. So you can download those. They're in the chat. And then he's going to add some more meditations. So the 9-point death meditation, that one you're going to need this week, because that's the next exercise is to go on with the other points. So thanks very much. And then those 3 main headings, those 3 main points, the first ones, lead you to a resolution that because I'm definitely going to die, I need to get into my practice. I need to do it. I can't waste any more time. I can't waste any more time. Okay. I had a student stop by the other day. She was passing through Pennsylvania. I don't get many visitors. Not many people come to this area. She was passing through, and then she came upstairs to use the bathroom, and she said, I'm sorry, I peeked in your room. The door was open. There's nothing to hide here. And she said, I peeked in your room, and she said, that's where you teach from. She's like that. She goes, there it was, exactly what I see on the screen. I'm like, yep. Okay. So again, leading you to this resolution. And so let me explain, when you're meditating, we're going to do a little bit of this later. When you are doing analytical meditation on the Lam Rim, we're combining analytical meditation means I'm analyzing something. So what you would be doing with Death is Certain is you'll have a sheet, just bring up, you can copy out the meditation, print it out. Or if you want to keep it on a device and look at it while you're sitting, that's perfectly fine. And what you do is you look at the first couple sentences, and you think about those for a moment. Everybody dies. And this one, if it's traditional, I'm just going to open it up for a second and have a look. 9-part meditation on death. This is meditation 3. Okay. So it's all split up into a motivation. Okay. Now, first root, the inevitability of death. Okay. And here's the first reason. And right here, it just says, think. My death is inevitable because nothing can prevent it. No matter who I am, I'm going to die. Okay. And you might want to just pause there and just think again, I am going to die. I'm definitely going to die. It may sound morbid to you just because our culture doesn't like to think about death, and you can go on. Ever since humans evolved on Earth, no one has managed to escape death. No one has escaped death. Then what you want to do is pause. Close your eyes for a moment. Think about what you just read. No one has been able to escape death. I am definitely going to die. I am definitely going to die. And then you might reflect for a moment. All the beings who have died that you've heard about on the planet, the bravest of them have died. Geniuses have not sorted a way out of it. The most creative beings on the planet haven't sorted a way out of it. The richest people have not been able to bribe their way out of it. The most powerful people on the planet. You slowly go through this process. You might even think about spiritual leaders like Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr. and Pope John Paul II and Jesus and Mother Teresa and the Buddha died. They all died. They didn't sort a way out of it. So how is it that I think I'm immune from the situation? You slowly, and what will happen is the intellectual understanding here in your head, kind of brain level, is going to penetrate to the mind level. The mind, heart is connected. The mind's not physical. It's not the brain in Buddhism. Okay. And it's in its most subtle experience. It's located more in your core, not at the heart. The heart's an organ, more in your core. So when you feel this juicy moment of a gripping aha moment of, I'm going to die. Oh my goodness. I'm going to die. Then you want to take all your concentration and place it there on that experience to deepen that experience. Okay. And that's how we combine analytical meditation with shine, calm abiding, shine in Tibetan, calm abiding meditation. You need the concentration, the shine, to deepen all of those moments with the Lam Rim when you're analyzing. So first we have what's called a contrived realization of the Lam Rim, meaning I'm forcing it. You know, I don't have it merged with my mind yet, but I am having a feeling about it. Oh my gosh, I'm going to die. Oh my gosh, right? And through repeated meditation over and over and over, it becomes uncontrived, where it just arises in my mind. I think about death and I'm there. Experiential realization. And then your life starts to change. You decide to get more into your practice. You decide to change up your priorities. Like that. Certain things can change for you for the better, making you happier, making life more meaningful. That's why it can be effective. It's really, really hard for us to do that. I understand, but it really does work and we can do it, but it's going to take time and effort. Okay. So I just wanted to explain how you do those meditations on your own. Just print out the piece of paper. You don't need to have all this in your head. You use your piece of paper and use that as a guide. Perfectly fine. So thank you. Michael has posted the meditation. So feel free, download them like that. If not, contact Land of Medicine Buddha Christina. They can send them to you like that. Thank you so much. Okay, so death is certain. Let's go on to the second root. Second root, the time of death is uncertain. The time of death is uncertain, okay? Now, this one's harder to realize. The first point, that death is certain, and those three reasonings, you know, we kind of have those. We know we're going to die, okay? We might not have an experiential realization, but we understand. But the time of death is uncertain. How many times have you used language and you said, you know, when I'm old, right, I'm going to do this. You know, when we're old, we're going to, you know, you don't know if you're going to live to be old. So I changed my language, my words to now say, if I live to be old, then I'll do that. Then we're going to go there and do that. Okay. So here's the three roots under this. The time of death is uncertain. This is harder for us to realize because we kind of intellectually know we're going to die, but it's going to be later. So I've got time to do my practice. That's why I put my practice off, because I think I have time. We don't have much time. Doesn't matter how old you are, you don't have much time. Okay. So here's number one. The lifespan, as we know on planet Earth, is completely unfixed. Lifespan is completely uncertain. And we know, and all of you know people that die at all different ages. There's no set age. You get 1,000 years. There are other world systems, they say, get 1,000 years. And you know that when you're born. You get exactly 1,000 years. That's not planet Earth. People die at 2 years old, at 16, 94. Okay, they die before they're born. No fixed lifespan on planet Earth, okay? Age is no guarantee. You know, children unfortunately die before parents sometimes. That's really tragic. Health is no guarantee that you're going to be okay. I've met people that were really healthy and I thought the old grandfather was going to die, but it ended up that the grandson died first. Who knew that? Who knew that was going to happen? Got some kind of infection and that was it. Okay. And then we also make plans. We have a lot of plans, don't we? I mean, the pandemic's kind of taken all that down, but people have plans for their beach holiday this summer. They have plans for the next retreat they're going to do. I have plans to drive across the country, right? I don't know if death will come first or whether my drive will come first or whether death will come on my drive. I certainly hope not, right? But you don't know. You really don't know what's going to come first. So we make these plans and go, oh, and then I'm going to do that. We're going to have lunch and and some people are very rigid about their plans. And then death comes and there's the biggest surprise of all, like that. So future plans are no guarantee. So that's the first thing is we live unfixed lifespan. I think we understand that. Here's number two. That many more things can kill us than are actually supporting our lives. There's many more things actually when you think about it. Okay, we have external conditions like natural disasters and catastrophes. So we know about that. Hurricanes, tornadoes, tsunamis, earthquakes, all of that creates obstacles to our life. Okay, uncertain, with no idea when they're going to happen. Okay, you have internal conditions like illness that crop up. Then look at our planet now. We have viruses and bacterias and stuff that creates an incredible pandemic that just in our country alone has killed what, over 600,000 people. It's insane. It's insane just in the States, let alone the world. Okay, so we have internal conditions. We also have other external things like wars that kill people. Poorly made buildings, like the one in, unfortunately, Miami Beach that collapsed. And, bridges that collapse and landslides and, things that come on because of natural disasters and things like that. Okay. And then we also have normally, the things that normally sustain life can be conditions for death. So the earthquakes, honestly, that's not what really kills you. It's the building that falls down on your head that kills you in an earthquake. If you're outside during an earthquake in nature, the trees just sway. Generally, and people say, well, the earth's going to open up and swallow me. I mean, it's rare you get a chasm like that will swallow you. It's nothing like the Grand Canyon, I mean, the earthquakes I've seen, that even near the epicenter, it's not quite like that. Nothing that extreme. But again, if you're in a building and you're in your house that's so safe that gives you shelter, that could become destructive for you, unfortunately, causing your death. Sometimes we get food poisoning. So we need food to live, but occasionally it kills people. There's bacteria in it, something's contaminated, you have an allergy to something. It's the same thing with medicine. We take medicine, you need the medicine to support your health, and something's wrong with it, or you have an allergic reaction. Like that. People also die in accidents, plane crashes, all kinds of things like that. Murder. So we know that there's many, many things out there that really can contribute to our death. So you take your time. We're going to do some meditation on this in a minute. The third Everybody with us? Okay. I think we lost our connection for a moment. Great. Maybe I did. Again, when the velocity of the car, the materials of the car based on the velocity that is stronger than this. And that's why you die in a car accident, the plane crash, like whatever materials are, the body's really delicate. And there's also people that, you know, have gotten a terrible infection from a bacteria or from a virus that, and the body's not able, it's not strong enough to fight it off. So very unfortunate. Okay. And that's why we die. Okay. So this leads you to a resolution when you, and what you can do is when you're doing these meditations, and if I say like, oh, you want to complete the course. So what you would do is you've got 9 points. And what I would do is take 1 point a day. And if you want, do 1 point for 3 days and then move on to the second point, next point, if you want to do something like that. Basically, that's 27 days, or you can combine a couple of the points or do one section at a time, meaning take 20 minutes and go through 3 of the reasonings and maybe do that for 3 days. Do that for 3 days. So basically you'll have like 9 or 10 days. And let's just say if we want to go to the next week, I would take the second part of this now, which is going to be the time of death is uncertain, and try to do 3 or 4 days, just try to go through those 3 reasonings. That would be really helpful for you to kind of complete the meditation part. Just 3 days, take 15 or 20 minutes a day. Surely we can do something like that. And what you want to do is slowly spend 5 minutes. Look at the planet. There's no fixed life. Think of all the people you know who died and all the different ages they were. Think of all the people you've heard about. You know, think about that. There's no fix, and spend 5 minutes there really soaking, absorbing your mind into that. And then keep coming back to, I have no idea when I'm going to die. I have no idea when I'm going to die. Over and over, you can say that in the back of your mind. Then after 5 minutes, go on and think all the natural disasters, all the things that are really contributing to my death. And slowly, really think about them. Put your, like suddenly there's an earthquake in Japan, causes a tsunami that melts down their nuclear reactor. Think about that, all the people that died from that. Horrible, unbelievable, let alone the flood. But you know, you just think about that for a minute. Hurricane Katrina, 1,000 people died, maybe more probably. You know, and you think about that, you know, this, and then the water rises, and then people not safe in their houses, no rescue. Unbelievable, can't swim, whatever happened. What, you know, slowly just think about, well, there's so many things out there. You know, and to the point where, yes, it may generate some fear in you. That's okay. Use the fear to motivate your practice. I need to get practicing. This is the resolution. The resolution is, and you can come to it after you do those 3 points, right? And you might feel scared. You might feel a little bit of a jolt. Focus your concentration there for a moment. I have no idea when I'm going to die. And then at the end, when you conclude, think, not only because I know I'm going to die, not only am I going to practice, I have to practice now. I have to get to my practice now. I can't wait anymore. Like that. Am I making sense? Everybody okay? Okay. Let's talk about.
Question.
Yes, sorry.
So what happens when you're thinking about the different ways that people die, and there's tragic ways, there's natural ways, and I find myself like drifting instead of focusing on the realization that death is upon us. What happens when you start drifting and thinking about why do people die this way?
Right. So that's distraction. So rather than getting off into distracted thoughts, just stay with like, oh, that's right, that person died like that, and that was a horrible thing of all those people. And just to get that sense that I don't have any idea when I'm going to die. So again, distraction will come in and we start focusing on the weeds instead of seeing the bigger forest like that. So make sure you're on the target. Again, that's where we're going to use our concentration is, am I on the subject I'm supposed to meditate on? And when we do analytical meditation, when we're not used to it yet, the mind loves to wander off in general. Anyway, even when we're trying to just focus on our breath, the mind wanders off. So this is about mental training, mental training. And so please, again, please just listen to this for a moment. Please be patient with yourself in this process, okay? That's really, really important on this path. Please be patient with yourself. This takes time and effort, okay? You're not doing it wrong. Don't get into that mindset, okay? We're learning how to do it. And when we're learning how to do something, it's unfamiliar, you know, and we're thoroughly distracted now on planet Earth. I just had an interview. They're interviewing teachers about discovering Buddhism because they're trying to revise it. And our wonderful foundation program coordinator who's taken over, Wai Chung, he's a wonderful guy, lives in Sydney, Australia. He's from Singapore. It's wonderful. We had a wonderful talk this afternoon. And he was asking me, and we talked about, he teaches as well, and we talked about how thoroughly distracted everybody is, generally, you know, and because of our devices. So it's very normal. So again, you have to be patient to kind of say like, I'm a little distracted right now. Okay, take a deep breath, relax your body. When you sit on the cushion, when you start a session, however you're sitting in a chair, it doesn't matter. One of the most important components, second to motivation, is relax yourself. We're jamming. You come in, you plunk yourself down in your seat, and meditation's just supposed to open up. Please give yourself a break and just, I like to just take 5 minutes and I scan my body and I just breathe. Inhale, I open up space. I exhale, I let go of the tension until I feel pretty relaxed, pretty good, you know, and that will help to keep the mind more focused, and then just practicing more. So thanks for asking, Jenny. That's a great question, is just keep at it. You just try your best. That's all you can do. And you just keep. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Sure. But we're so hard on ourselves. I think we really just have to relax, and you do the best you can, like that. So we're going to do some meditation now on these points, okay? And actually, I'm going to try to follow. I have my own way I lead it, but let me try to follow so it'll be more familiar with you. The meditations. Let me just bring up my, here they are. Okay, so I don't have the updated ones right here. I thought I saved it. Let me just check again. Oh, here they are. I've got them because they updated them. Okay. So just so this is a little bit familiar to you, I'm going to work right off of these pages. Okay, please sit comfortably. And again, take a couple of deep breaths and let it all go. Make sure your body is comfortable. And check your posture for a moment. Just making sure you're as relaxed as possible. So we're focusing now on the second root, second main heading of the 3 roots of the 9-point death meditation, the uncertainty of the time of death. Let's look at the first reason. Please reflect. The lifespan in this world is not fixed. The lifespan in this world is not fixed. Not only am I going to die, I have no idea when. And I could die virtually at any moment. Just contemplate that. And think in the back of your mind, I could die virtually at any moment. I could die at any moment. People die in the womb. People die during delivery. In the first few days of life, they die. In infancy, they die as children, as teenagers. They die at any age. Middle-aged people, old people die. Just reflect on that, all the different ages, all the different stages of life. People die. And just think, human beings like me can die at any time. Human beings like me can die at any time. And if at any time during this meditation, you feel that juicier experience in your heart or somewhere in the body, something gripped, something deeper, best as you can, place your concentration there to deepen it. And when it fades or you get distracted, go back and analyze again more quickly. Or just think, I can die at any time. Okay, even today, think, many people exactly my age have died. So there's no certainty as to the time of my death. Let's look at the second reason. There are more factors contributing to death than to continuing my life. More factors creating my death, causing my death, than causing my life. And just reflect. I could be killed by other people. Could be killed by animals, an insect bite, other external factors like a car accident, a tree falling down, natural disaster, a fire, a flood, gas filling the house without me knowing, like carbon monoxide poisoning. The list is endless. I could get a strange bacteria. There's so many ways, just reflect, in which I could die. So many ways, so many things can bring about my death. As much as you can, absorb your mind into any images of these disasters, these things, thinking about this could easily be happening to me. Even things meant to preserve our life, like food. I could be eating and suddenly choke on something. Nobody's there to help, and I die. Could be eating, I could get food poisoning and die. Place your mind in these scenarios and think. Think deeply. This could easily happen to me. This happens to people every day. Could be me. I could have an allergic reaction to some medication and die. I could die during surgery for something more minor in my body, but something goes wrong and I die. That happens to people all the time. Think about the uncertainty. I have no idea when I'm going to die. Let's look at the third reason. Just think, my body is fragile. My body's fragile, like a water bubble. Think about when you get a little thorn in your finger, how much it hurts. When you rub your finger over a flame, how intense it is, because the body really can't sustain much, okay? A little tiny virus, you can barely see under a microscope, can kill me. Think about that. One tiny cell in your body can become cancerous, and it grows and you die. So just think about these situations of how delicate the body is that causes your death at any time. And please think that since the time of death is extremely uncertain, I could even die tonight. And so because of that, not only must I practice Dharma, I must practice it right now. From this moment on, I must step up my practice without postponing for another day, another second, for another distraction, another excuse. Have to practice. Just feel that commitment in your heart if you like. Please relax. And when you're ready, slowly open your eyes. The third root is the only thing that really benefits you at the death time is your Dharma practice, your spiritual practice. And this has three reasonings. This is the easiest part to recognize, this third root. Most of us get this. Okay, so number one reasoning, your money and possessions are of no use to you when you die. Okay, now I do know people say, yeah, but I could then die how I want. I could die at home with 24-hour care in the way I want to be taken care of, not in a nursing home with sharing a room with somebody. And you could, but I know people that died like that were not happy. It's really about your attitude and your mind. So certainly money can support you in that way, but you can't take the money with you. And your death experience is yours alone without money or anything. So that doesn't guarantee that like that. And sometimes they say naked and empty-handed we leave this life. Okay, a king and a beggar experience death in a similar way. So it's really about what's in your mind. So the money and possessions, and I would add, I always kind of say position and possessions are of no use to you. We sometimes have position, our identity is so strong, right? And we're grasping on, I was a lawyer, I was this, I was a mother, I had kids, my grandchildren, I owned all this property, I was a meditator or something, and people are grabbing onto that, and it's not helpful. It doesn't matter. None of that is going to serve you. Mostly it gets in the way. Second reasoning, this one's a little controversial for people. Friends and family are of no help to you, okay? What do you think about that? Friends and family. Are they of any help to you? What do you think? Anybody want to unmute or put in the chat?
Hi. I'm having a hard time really aligning with that just in my own experiences, and not because I argue that friends and family can actually help during the dying process, but more that there is an available integration that can be available through friends and family.
Integration how?
Support in the journey, an allyship with the suffering.
Yep.
A way of being present to your experience of dying. Things like that.
Right. I mean, it would be nice to have some of that support. Some people might be able to lend it for a period of time. Yeah. What else who else think? Thank you so much. Who else? What do you think about that? What she said? It's Palomi? Am I saying your name right?
Yeah, thank you. Palomi.
Palomi. Right. Anybody else?
And my experience is kind of a mixed bag. They can help you partially, but they can also breed some attachment because at the end of the day, they don't want you to die and can invoke some other feelings. But I agree with Palmy. I've seen where it can be helpful to kind of give people permission to let
Sure.
go. I mean, I've
Sure.
seen that for
That's
sure.
it.
Where
Yep, sure. Yeah, thank you, Michael. Absolutely. Catherine has her hand up. Catherine?
Um, a little different take. I was with my brother when he died of cancer, and so was his wife. And I don't know if it helped him. I mean, he wasn't really, he was like not obviously present, but it was really helpful to me. I just had this realization that it was like, this was okay. This is like, I don't know if that came from him. Maybe it did, but it was one of the best experiences of my life.
Thank you. Thank you. Marty, did you want to add something?
Yes, and I've been in with enough people when they died to see that they're busy dying, and presence really doesn't have a lot to do with it, especially at a certain point in the process, and that the surroundings just don't really matter all that much.
It is interesting. So when I think of, because I've done a lot of hospice work, and Pickpin, you may want to also contribute. Feel free, because you've done a lot of hospice work as well. And do you have anything you want to add from your experience with dying people, or?
Yes, I think now with COVID-19, we really realized that none of our possession, friends, even our body can help. We are now we are involved in COVID-19, and Malaysia, we have very bad outbreak, and the younger ones are dying.
Oh,
They
my.
have strong body, but they just come in with low oxygen and they die. So this is really true.
Wow. Wow. Well, young people dying now. That's so sad. I'm so sorry. And thank you so much. And another thing that I noticed, and thank you everyone for your comments, which are great comments. The thing I noticed with friends and family from my own experience with hospice work is, and my own friends and family who have passed, is there's attachment, like Michael said. Some people are grasping on to, they're dying, but they're grasping on to the people that are behind, or the people that are not dying are saying, don't die. But I really like what Marty said. People are busy dying. Like they got their process to go through. And there I am saying, don't die. I mean, that's torturous for somebody. Please don't die. I need you. I'm going to be a mess without you. I've heard people say this. So that's not helpful. Crying over somebody profusely. It's one thing you want to cry. Absolutely. It's sad to lose somebody, no doubt. But I take it out of the room and cry. I cry in the shower. I cry separate from them. And unless there's somebody super close to me where we can cry together, that they're dying, before they're actively dying. Sometimes we'll cry together, and that's what they want, and that's just natural and fine. But you have to know those moments that I'm not clutching on and being like, please don't go. I don't know what I'm going to do without you. And so again, we can contribute. And what Paloma was also saying is I do find the dying people are having their own experience. So I don't want to interfere. I don't want to interrupt. I don't want to suddenly throw a wrench in where they're kind of cruising along and then suddenly I'm interrupting something, and so it's very hard to know what they're actually going through. So I just find to set that peaceful environment where they are. And even people that visit, I've had conversations with people about, can you lower your voice a little bit? And we don't want bright lights in the room, and these are the wishes of the person that was dying. And maybe if they start talking about their possessions or something, or some work, it's maybe, it might be good to just remind them how much you appreciate them. And what, it's just to try to redirect their conversation if you can, or when they're out of the room, explain what the person's wishes were, that they don't want you crying, they don't want this, if it's possible. So I'm not sure, Paloma, with integration, Now, here's one way that we've integrated, and many of you have been involved in this, is we've been directed when somebody dies, and we've been directed sometimes by Lama Zopa Rinpoche, if they're a Buddhist, to do specific practices for someone. So we have joined around someone's bed, even if they're in a coma. Sometimes they're alert, and we're doing specific practices, either the person's wanted us to do, Rinpoche's told us to do. That can be comforting for a practitioner to a degree, or people that have been shouting things in the person's ear right after they died. Because Rinpoche says the consciousness, trying to direct the consciousness in a certain way to remind them of certain things, because the hearing can be very late to go, like that. So that's one way, if we're doing practices for people that they can hear, that they might want to participate, or they might want, I was at Kopan Nunnery many years ago. A nun friend of mine was dying in Australia, and I decided to sponsor a puja for her at Kopan while I was there doing the puja with the nuns. And it was like 5:30 in the morning, and I looked at the time in Australia, and I quickly, like it was a little bit later, and I sent her the video of the puja going on right then. I was able, with email now, it's amazing. Like I think with WhatsApp, I quickly sent her the puja, a video, and I said to her, I spoke in that, and I said, this is going on for you right this moment. And she replied right away. She was actively dying, and she said, oh, I can just lie here and bliss out then. She was delighted to get that message. So again, those kind of things, I felt an integration on that level. And Paloma, I don't know if that's what you mean. Is that similar to what you're?
Yeah, that is a partial experience that I am feeling in that process, or in that journey of being with.
Yeah, because the reality is, though, even if you die in an accident with someone, your death experiences are yours alone. They're not going through the doors with you, even though they're also dying. It's your total. So anybody that's left around you, they really don't know, unless they're clairvoyant, what your inner experience is going on, like that. So again, we try to support as best as we can. And there's poignant stories, there's funny stories I've heard and been with people. And one of the most poignant I heard was when I was doing the hospice work in San Francisco during the peak of the AIDS epidemic. Some of you know this story, I think, but there was a man from Sweden dying, and the San Francisco General Hospital at the time had an AIDS ward, and they were incredible on this ward. The nursing staff was unbelievably supportive, and they had a really incredible reputation. And even though it was the general hospital, where people that often didn't have money went, they were far superior. So this man from Sweden was dying of AIDS. His mother flew over from Sweden and was with him every day, and completely supportive and amazing. And she, near the end, he really should have passed. And the nurses, they were all trying to figure out, and you've seen this with some people, really, they really should pass. And it's just suffering. And what was he hanging on for? Was there somebody else he needed to speak to, something he needed to do? And at one point, his mother stepped out of the room for a moment, or, went to get coffee or something. And a nurse came in, and he could still speak. And he said, please, he said, I need you to have a conversation with my mother. I always get chills when I hear this. He said, I need to die, and I'm too attached to her. And so I can't die with her here. He said, I'm really struggling with, our attachment. We're so close that I just can't let go, and I need to go. And I need you to, I can't talk to her about it. He goes, I just can't. So can you please discuss it with her? And, and so that, it's just so heartbreaking. And so the nurse, was fantastic, took the mother, said the mother totally got it. Totally, she came in the room, they had a really amazing goodbye. And he said, I want you to go out and, San Francisco, I want you to do all your favorite things in San Francisco today for me. Like, I just want you to enjoy and know I'm going to be peaceful. And she went out for the day, and he passed that day. He passed like a couple hours later, and the mother just went out and did, and then they called her, and or she came back. And so sometimes we have to do that to maybe be integrated in what's happening and let go, which is really hard, especially when it's your son, when it's your kid. It's really hard. So I want to talk about then, here's this person dying, okay? We don't know what's going on for them, but this is what Tibetan Buddhism is saying could be going on for them, okay? What's actually happening? How do you get dead? You know, there is an internal process. How do you get born again? Is that a possibility? What happens? So the mind, and if you've done the mind module of Discovering Buddhism, which is the first module, it's called Mind and Its Potential. It's a fantastic module. Is you understand that the mind exists on 3 levels, a gross level. Oh, wait, sorry. One thing I wanted to, I didn't finish the last points of the 9-point death meditation. So sorry. Friends and family. Okay. They can get attached. They're, you know, if they support our practice, they can help. Otherwise, they're not so helpful due to attachment and things. The third reasoning under the only thing that really supports you as your spiritual practice is our body is of no help to us. It's usually, that's why we're dying, is the body is finishing. And mainly because the karmic seeds in our consciousness are finishing as well, but the body's not supporting anymore. This leads us to a resolution that not only am I going to practice, not only am I going to practice now, I am going to practice well. I'm going to develop a rich, consistent practice that will be there to support me at the death time. And that's the 9-point death meditation. Okay, so this week I'd really like you to focus on the second reasoning, the time of death is uncertain, and those 3 reasonings. Spend time this week with that if you'd like to. So here's what happens, and I want to talk about a little bit to start to go into the subtle inner experience. The mind exists on 3 levels: gross level, subtle, and most subtle. Okay, a gross level, a subtle level, and a most subtle level. We never think about the mind like that. We think about our brain, but the brain is not the mind in Tibetan Buddhism, because the mind is not physical. The brain is a physical thing, as we know. Consciousness, or the mind, I'm using them as synonyms, is not physical. And so the gross mind, which we know, are our thoughts and emotions and feelings and mental experiences, ideas. We understand that. And we also understand how like I'm thinking this thought now, and that created another thought, and now I'm thinking I want to have a drink, and I'm turning the light on, and that's gross consciousness, okay? Mainly fluctuations of the consciousness. And we can track the gross ones because we have an idea, there's an idea. There's a movement on my mind. Okay. Subtle mind is the fluctuations are more subtle and we don't catch them. And they say in a finger snap, in this, okay, in this, there are, how many do they say generally?
64, I think.
64, thank you. 64 fluctuations of the consciousness in this. Okay, well, that's pretty subtle. That's pretty subtle. We're not going to catch that. I'm talking about movements of your consciousness. Okay, if you're in long retreat, if you're doing a lot of retreat, you sometimes experience the mind a little bit more subtle experience. You can experience that. Okay, but then we have most subtle mind. What's that? It's clear light nature. It's clear light nature. What's that like? Okay, well, we experience it actually every time we fall asleep at night. Okay, we experience it every time we have a really big sneeze, really big yawn. We experience it when we have sexual orgasm. These are like mini deaths, actually. Okay, so that clear light manifests. The reason we don't recognize it is we're not that familiar with recognizing it. We haven't meditated on, and there's inner visions that lead up to that clear light. Okay, so you can actualize those through meditations now, doing them continually every day. They come in tantric practices. His Holiness the Dalai Lama says sometimes that he does them like 8 times a day, slowly, meditating on these visions. I'm going to explain slowly what they are, and then we're going to do some meditation next week on those, like that. So the reason is like, so I have several tantric practices I have to do, and they exist in those practices, and I try to do them slowly over and over so that my mind becomes habituated with those that are definitely going to show up when I'm dying. And what happens is if I start to recognize some of those inner visions that are not separate from my mind, I might be able to recognize the clear light. And I want to stay in that space, which has been described to me not only as the most luminous experience that you can imagine, but also brilliant transparency. How about that? Brilliant transparency. Okay, transparency indicates clarity, clearness, something you see through, but it's brilliant. Like, so if you can just imagine, that is what I say. Initially, we imagine it. You know, we fake it till we make it, till we become that. We imagine, we contrive it. Again, that's how we have to engage with our practice. You have to force it a little bit to make it, to slowly habituate the mind, slowly get used to, and then eventually it will come automatically. And suddenly you'll have these inner visions. Now they come in tantric completion stage practices more likely because we're working with the subtle energy network of the body. We're letting the gross mind go, letting the gross body go, working more with moving energy in your body. Okay. And through that process, you try to bring the winds into what's called the central channel. And then you can actualize those visions happen automatically when you bring them in the right way. Okay. Now, when do the winds get close to entering the central channel? For instance, when you have sexual orgasm, that's why it feels so good. But can you imagine because the winds get close to entering, but they don't enter in the right way. Can you imagine if you get them in the right way, what you'll actualize? But you'll also in meditation be able to sustain that mind state, all clear mind state, clear light. So these subtle experiences happen, and this is what happens. And I think there should be in the readings, I think, a printout of the dissolutions or something, but I'll make sure you'll get that like that.
Meditation 4 have this dissolution.
Meditation 4 has, but does it explain, and I'm just going to check my meditations. Thank you, Pigpen. Is I want to make sure it's explained of what the visions are rather than just the meditation on it. Let me see, I'm just looking at. Okay, yes. Yeah, he does go into it. That's great. Meditation 4, thank you. So feel free, if anybody wants to have a look at that and try it, you're certainly welcome. But let me go through a little bit of what happens in these dissolutions. And this is a natural process. Again, this happens automatically. Now here's another thing to think about is if you believe in reincarnation, can I just get an idea of, are some of you really, you're not sure about reincarnation? I'm just curious if anybody cares to say, how many people, put your hand up if you're not really convinced yet about reincarnation. Okay, yeah, we've got a few people. I wasn't convinced in the beginning, okay? So what I'm gonna do next week is we're gonna also do a different meditation that's not actually included about the continuity of consciousness, a little different than I think the one with the course, but I'll make sure you have that one as well. Is you can trace gross mind, okay? And we're going to trace it in a meditation. It's easier to just do the meditation. But let me explain a little bit is, if the way you got into your seat tonight in front of your device or camera, okay? You can trace how from the particular position you're in right now, there was a moment before where you were putting your body in that position. And there was a moment before, and it looks like it's activities of the body, but the mind, the gross mind is dictating that. So my gross mind saying, oh, I need to turn here. My gross mind means that I need to engage the brain, to engage the muscles, neurological activity to tell the muscles to move in a certain way so I can get in front of the camera, to get here. And you know, there's another thought, I want to turn the light switch on, which means I need to move my hand out, but it's all dictated by the mind. Do you see what I'm saying? Are you following? So the mind's got ideas and thoughts that are then you put into action that sometimes creates a movement in your body. Okay, I think we get that. So you can trace back a little 5-minute episode. And what I want you to notice in this is there's a continuity. So meaning that every moment of your consciousness, a thought that you're having, or even because the muscle moved was because the moment before that caused that, the moment before that caused it, the moment before that caused it, that originates in the mind causing, and you see this connectivity of the mental activity. So you go, okay, well, I can trace a little 5-minute period of how I got into my seat and see the thoughts that also created that to happen. Okay, you can go further back in time and do it. And all I'm trying to get people to sense is this connectivity, that every moment of mine is preceded by another moment that caused it. Cause and result relationship, cause and effect, karma. And this is what Buddhism says, every moment of your consciousness, every present moment has a moment before that caused it. That moment that you'd say is the first moment has a moment before that caused it. And there's another moment before that, and another moment. So I would say, I would take you back to your earliest childhood memory. Okay, and you can maybe remember, it doesn't matter what age, and you have a little moment, you go, yeah, okay, there's still moments of consciousness causing the next one, preceding that cause it. So then I say, go back to when you think you were inside your mother. Most people don't remember, but you can imagine, well, if these other moments all had a preceding moment that caused it, and that moment had another moment before that preceded it that caused it, and another moment before that, another like that, you kind of think, well, I guess it continued when I was a fetus, it was happening. Okay. So then what happens is we end up back at we want a moment number one. We need that moment number one. There's got to be a first moment. Okay. We like that. We're linear thinkers. We have Mondays the beginning of the week for some people, and Sunday's the end of the week. January's the beginning of the year, December's the end of the year. We like to think that way and put it in the structure. This class, for some of you in California, it started at 6 p.m. ends at 7:30. We want to have those, we need those structures in our life to function, to be practical. Okay, so people go back and go, my conception, that was my first moment of mind. Okay, but if all these other moments had a moment before that preceded, that caused it, what about the moment of conception? Could it be possible that that has a moment of mind before that preceded it, that caused it? Because that indicates a past life. So that's something to think about. Just something to think about. So I'll take you on that meditation next week, as well as some other ones. But just think about it. Now, here's the other thing is, then we say, and this is me not believing in reincarnation initially. Well, I don't remember my past lives. So they didn't exist. Okay? Most people don't remember. So did they not exist? So I'm going to ask all of you, how many of you remember being inside your mother when she was pregnant with you? Very few people I know remember that. Did that not happen? Right? I don't remember it, but I have photos of my mother pregnant with me. Other people say that was you in there. Right? So just because you don't remember, and then we want proof. People say, I want proof, past lives. Okay. Well, what's the proof that there is no past life as well? You don't think there is a past life. What's the proof of that? Because you don't remember? I don't remember being inside my mother. So you have to really poke and really analyze and go in there and check up. And here's some other things that made me think about it. Did you ever see many of you I'm sure have, a litter of kittens or puppies? You ever see these little animals born from the same pair of dogs or cats? And you see them, and there could be 6 or 8 of them in a box. People are adopting them or playing with them, right? They're all really different, right? Did you ever notice that? One is like crying in the corner, afraid of everything. One is really bold and big and hogging all the food. One's biting. They're all complete, like there's some mind in there that came from somewhere. Doesn't come from the parents. They're different than the parents. And how many of you have siblings, sister and brother? Anybody here have sister and brother? Okay. So Peter, are you similar? Your sister and brother and you? Similar or different? You're different. Who else?
Hey, I just know identical twins that were born a couple minutes apart, and they look exactly the same and are completely different.
Completely different. Colleen, same or different?
There's 4 of us and we're all completely different.
All completely different. So I have 2 siblings, and we have some similarities, some things, but we're really different. We're in completely different vocations. We're really different. Same parents. So then you wonder, like, we have some traits like our parents, but we're not like our parents. We're different. So where's that mind come from? Where do those traits come from? Why did I have 2 nephews, a year and a half apart, born to the same parents, like night and day, the 2 of them, completely different. And why did the younger one, when he was 1 year old, had a complete fascination with books his brother never had? And at 1 year old, we're looking for him in the apartment. Where is he? He crawled off to the big bookcase, and there he was, pulling books off the shelf and opening them up over his lap. He couldn't read, but he was just wanted to be around books constantly. He's a big reader today. Where did that come from? You know, his parents read, both his parents read, but well, one parent passed away, but the other brother doesn't read. So these are questions I looked at, and you have to check it out. I looked at the kitty, the litter of kittens, and I look at them and I'm like, they're all so different. My God, like there they are at that very young age, just coming into being. And there's distinctive mind there, distinctive traits you see. So I just was curious where it came from. Does it come from a God, the creator? Is there somebody else that's orchestrating it all like that? So these are things you want to think about. Does it come from the parents? Is it like that? So it's very helpful to think slowly, to just check up. And so these disillusions will happen when, and we can better, through meditation, learn to control these experiences so that you have a peaceful death without fear. That's where we're headed. That's where we're headed, like that. And so I'm going to talk about the dissolutions more next week, and we will do a meditation on it. So what I'd love you to do this week, remember, some people are working on their bucket lists. Remember the bucket list? Okay. So your bucket lists are, and I want to hear some of these at the end. Okay. I really want to hear these. So feel free. I mean, don't be shy. It's just us. Just us. I mean, I know they're recorded, but if you don't want to read and you feel private that way, but it really, some of the things on your bucket list is inspiring to other people. So that's why I'm saying I'd really love you to read whatever you want to read out loud, but it's a bucket list of the things you'd like to do and accomplish before you die. But it's also what kind of qualities would you like to develop in your mind before you die? Like that. So do work on that. Can you please, with readings, what I would suggest is, let me just double check. If you want to do some readings, where we ought to be right now is there's a beautiful reading, Life, Death, and After Death by Lama Yeshe. Life, Death, and After Death. So we've already had, the first week I mentioned Death, Intermediate State, and Rebirth. And they follow generally, when you get the required readings that we put in the chat, they follow in this order: Remembering Death by Lama Zopa Rinpoche, and the poem Dissolution by Lama Yeshe was in the first week. And then there's a section, Impermanence and Death by Lama Zopa Rinpoche. And then if you want, Life, Death, and After Death is really nice piece from Lama Yeshe. It's really, really nice. And I mentioned the Wish Fulfilling Golden Sun, which was also given, or if you want to pop that in the chat, Michael, which we gave last week. We gave you the whole text, but it's only pages 50 to 59. If you just read that part, it's really helpful. You can also read, I would recommend Liberation in the Palm of Your Hand if you have that edition. There's a big section in there on death and dying, pages 332 to 393. And I'm happy to give that to you again if you want, like that, if you happen to have that book and you want to know those pages. And then to do the meditations, please, on the second main root, the time of death is uncertain, and those 3 reasonings, and just try to do that as best as you can. Thank you. Michael just posted the wish fulfilling golden sun again. And that's a whole incredible teaching from Lama Zopa Rinpoche of everything, but just those pages 50 to 59 in there, you could have a look at. Any questions, please, before we end? So reflect a little bit. It's nice this week to reflect on the 9-point death meditation. And again, you can exercise, you're walking, you're out exercising on a walk. I'm another step closer to death. Or another step closer to death. You're having toast in the morning, I'm another bite closer to death. Another sip of coffee, sip of tea, closer to death. Okay? And so please don't die. I hope you don't die this week. Please be well. And let's dedicate. I'm going to share my screen to do some dedications that Rinpoche recommends, especially right now with COVID. And these are the ones Rinpoche has recommended we do during this period with COVID. That we do, we have a 24-hour prayer-a-thon. Some of you are participating, some of you are aware of. And it's Friday to Saturday, 24 hours, hosted by our center in Australia, Chenresig Institute. Many monks and nuns participate. My session is 8 a.m. East Coast time. So it's a little early for Californians, but you can pop in at any time and find it online. It's live on Facebook, I think. It's on YouTube, and you can just pop in and listen to a session. And these are the dedications Rinpoche's recommended that we do. So I'm going to share my screen and feel free to join in. I'd like to dedicate all the merit we've created. So just let me know if you cannot see the prayers. So I'd like to dedicate whatever positive energy merit we've created from our time together for all the people with COVID around the planet to be healed instantly. And for those who passed away in the last 49 days, may they immediately take a good rebirth to get enlightened, to benefit all. And may all the diseases on the planet be eradicated instantly, and all the suffering and things like that. Janchu Sencho Rinpoche, Ma ke panam ke yurchig, ke panyam pa me pa yi, gone gondu belwar sho. However many sick sentient beings there are, may they quickly be freed from all sicknesses. May all the sicknesses, without exception, and transmigratory beings never occur again. In all my lives, never separated from perfect gurus, may I enjoy the magnificent Dharma. By completing the qualities of the grounds and paths, may I quickly attain the state of Vajradhara. So I want to do this special one for emptiness that Rinpoche recommends. Due to all the past, present, and future merits collected by me, the numberless Buddhas, and the numberless sentient beings, which are completely empty of existing from their own side, may I, who am completely empty of existing from my own side, achieve the state of full enlightenment, which is completely empty of existing from its own side, and lead all sentient beings who are completely empty of existing from their own side to that state which is completely empty of existing from its own side, by myself alone, who am completely empty of existing from my own side. Any understanding you have of emptiness, please reflect. That you lack any inherent, concrete, independent existence. And this prayer, condensed version of the King of Prayers, I fully dedicate all these virtues to be able to train, just like the hero Manjushri who knows reality, and just like Samantabhadra as well. And for the long lives of our precious teachers, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, the wish-granting, wish-fulfilling jewel, source of every single benefit and happiness in this world, to the incomparably kind Tenzin Gyatso, I beseech, may all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled for the long life of Lama Zopa Rinpoche, you who uphold the subduer's moral way, who serve as the bountiful bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, and spreading Manjunath's victorious doctrine, who masterfully accomplish magnificent prayers, honoring the three sublime ones, Savior of myself and others, your disciples, please, please live long. So thank you so much. Thank you again to Land of Medicine Buddha. Thank you, Michael. Thank all of you for showing up. It's lovely to see all of you. And please have a wonderful week. Please be well.
Thank you.
Thanks very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.